Hello friends, I am Dr. Sanjula Babuta from Department of Pharmaceutics, School of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Jamia Hamdard. Today we will be discussing about the module Bioavailability and Bioequivalence. The various topics that will be covered under this module includes a knowledge about absolute bioavailability and relative bioavailability, the objectives of bioavailability studies, the need for bioavailability studies, the various regulatory guidelines, single versus multiple dose study design, conditions for bioavailability study on human volunteers, measurement of bioavailability, bioequivalence, in vitro in vivo correlation, criteria for establishing a bioequivalence requirement, criteria for waiver of evidence of in vivo bioavailability, design of bioequivalence study, and pharmaceutical methods for enhancement of bioavailability. Essential to ensure uniformity in standards of quality, efficacy, and safety of pharmaceutical products, reasonable assurance is to be provided that various products containing the same active ingredients marketed by different licenses are clinically equivalent and interchangeable. Release of an active substance should be known and reproducible. Both bioavailability and bioequivalence focus on the release of the drug from its dosage form and absorption in circulation. Bioavailability is defined as a measure of the rate and extent of drug absorbed which reaches the systemic circulation unchanged from its dosage form. In other words, it is the fraction of administered dose that actually reaches the systemic circulation in contrast to that stated on the label. Bioavailability is usually determined by comparing the rate and extent of absorption of the drug from the formulation under evaluation to the data of a reference standard. When intravenous dose is taken as the reference standard, it is called as absolute bioavailability. When dosage form other than intravenous is taken as a reference standard, it is called as relative bioavailability. The reference standard can be an oral solution or a fine suspension. Bioavailability usually ranges from 0 to 1 and absolute bioavailability of 1 or 100% indicates complete absorption. Relative bioavailability of 100% implies that bioavailability of a drug from both the dosage form is the same but does not indicate the completeness of absorption. Measurement of the relative amount and rate at which the drug from the administered dosage form reaches the systemic circulation and becomes available at the site of action. Now let us understand about the absolute bioavailability and relative bioavailability. Absolute bioavailability is the ratio of the drug concentration obtained after oral administration of the drug to the drug concentration obtained after intravenous administration. The intravenous formulations exhibit 100% bioavailability. Relative bioavailability is the ratio of the drug concentration obtained after oral administration of the test drug to that of standard of the same drug both administered orally. Bioavailable fraction refers to the fraction of the administered dose that enters the systemic circulation. The various objectives of bioavailability studies are that bioavailability plays a key role in dose development of new drug and determination of its therapeutic utility, new formulation development of an already known drug, determination of alteration in absorption due to drug interaction, excipient use or patient related factors, control of the quality of the drug and determining factors influencing absorption such as stability, storage conditions and processing related factors, evaluation of a dosage form with other dosage form or with same dosage form from different manufacturers. Why there is a need for bioavailability study? Bioavailability and bioequivalence studies are imposed by FDA for all drugs before getting approval for marketing. Important pharmacokinetic parameters needs to be estimated for a new drug by single and multiple dose administration, as this is important for establishing dosage regimen and for supporting the drug labeling. Bioavailability study for a new formulation of a drug which is NDA approved should be done, and the pharmacokinetic parameters of new formulation dosage form should be determined. The safety and efficacy of a drug is also determined by bioavailability study. The various regulatory guidelines are there. The limit of bioavailability test is 80 to 125% compared to the reference formulation. Drugs which have narrow therapeutic range and for highly variable drugs, limits are set on individual drug basis. FDA recommends some pharmacokinetic parameters for testing the bioavailability of a drug, which are Cmax, Tmax, AUC and T-half. When concentration versus time profile graphs of two products matches each other in such a way that they do not cause any difference in the therapeutic and the adverse effects, then they can be used as alternatives. Let us understand about the single and the multiple dose study design. In a single dose study design, only one dose of the drug is given to the patient, and after that determination of bioavailability is done. This method is used for dosage forms that are to be evaluated only for the bioequivalence purpose. It requires overnight fasting for at least 10 hours and subsequent fasting for 4 hours. Dosage form meant for a single dose administration for a therapeutic benefit such as analgesic for relief of headache. Multiple dose studies, in this more than one dose is administered to the patient and then bioavailability is determined. This method is used for dosage forms that are designed to achieve special release profiles. It requires fasting for 2 hours before and after dose administration. Example, time release and enteric coated preparations. What are the various conditions for bioavailability study when they are performed on human volunteers? Generally, young and healthy male adults are used having a narrow range of body weight, that is within plus minus 10%. Female volunteers are selected when bioavailability study is done on oral contraceptive or any other drugs particularly suitable for women. A consent form needs to be filled by the volunteers before the study, and a complete body health checkup is also done. Volunteers participating should not be taking any medication at least 1 week prior to the study and should be on overnight fasting before the study and 4 hours after drug administration. A washout period of at least 10 biological half-lives should be kept between two studies on the same volunteer. A washout period is the time interval between two treatments which is required for complete elimination of the previously administered dose of a drug to avoid a carryover effect. Generally, a period of 10 half-lives is allowed between two treatments, ensuring elimination of 99.9% of the administered dose. Number of washout cycles depends upon the type of crossover study design used and the number of formulations to be evaluated. There are various methods which are used for the estimation of bioavailability and are classified into two categories: direct methods and indirect methods. Pharmacokinetic methods. This method is used widely for the estimation of bioavailability and is known as the indirect method, as this method assumes that the therapeutic effectiveness is reflected from the pharmacokinetic profile of a drug. The two pharmacokinetic methods are plasma level time studies and the urinary excretion studies. The second method is the pharmacodynamic method. It is complementary to pharmacokinetic approach and is a direct measurement of effectiveness of a drug as a function of time. The determination of bioavailability by pharmacodynamic method involves two methods: the acute pharmacological response and the therapeutic response. Now we will study in detail about the pharmacokinetic methods, and in this the plasma level time studies. It is considered to be the most reliable method unless it is difficult to determine the plasma drug concentration. This method is preferred over the urine data method. This method assumes that the two dosage forms which are having plasma level time profiles which are superimposable or overlapping show similar therapeutic activity. Upon administration of a drug via any route, blood samples are collected till 2 to 3 biological half-life of drug, and then the samples are analyzed for drug content and a plasma concentration versus time graph is plotted. In intravenous dose, first sample is taken within 5 minutes and then at 15 minutes interval, at least 3 samples in case of one compartment kinetics and 5 to 6 samples for drugs that follows 2 compartment model kinetics. In case of oral administration, at least 3 samples for ascending part of the curve and for descending part in a manner similar to intravenous dose. The various parameters which are determined when a graph has been plotted between time on the x-axis and the drug plasma concentration on the y-axis are Cmax. It is the maximum possible concentration of the drug in the plasma that is available for its therapeutic activity. It depends on the rate and extent of absorption of drug. Cmax is directly proportional to the dose and absorption rate. The second parameter which is determined is Tmax. It is the maximum time taken by the drug to reach the peak plasma concentration and is an indication of the rate of absorption. It is inversely proportional to the rate of absorption. The third parameter is AUC, the area under the curve that gives an idea about amount of drug that is absorbed and the extent of absorption. AUC is directly proportional to the dose, but this is not true in every case. When AUC is not proportional to the dose of the drug, then determination of bioavailability is difficult. There are a number of methods or number of ways by which AUC can be measured. The first method is known as the physical method. There are two physical methods by which AUC can be determined: the cut and the weight method and the planimeter method. In the cut and the weight method, plasma drug concentration versus time plot is plotted on a smooth paper. Then this plot is cut from the outline of AUC and electronic balance is used to measure the weight of that plot. AUC of reference sample is also cut and weighed. Weight of the cutout plot is proportional to the AUC and it is used to determine the bioavailability of the drug. Planimeter. Planimeter is an instrument which is used to calculate the area by tracing the outline of that area. It is a precise instrument and is used to calculate the area under the curve by tracing its outline. Physical methods are susceptible to instrumental and human errors, and thus the degree of error is higher in this method. The second method is the trapezoidal method. This method is most widely used for the estimation of AUC. In this method, the plasma drug concentration versus time plot is divided into numerous trapezoids and the area of the trapezoid is determined using the below mentioned equation, and the sum of the area of all the trapezoids give the area under the curve. Number of trapezoids is proportional to the accuracy of the result. This means more the number of trapezoids, more is the accuracy. Exact result is obtained when the curve is divided into infinite number of trapezoids. AUC is proportional to the dose absorbed only when the calculations are done till 0 plasma concentration. This is not possible in many of the cases, and hence the calculation is either done up to which the results are available, or we need to extrapolate the graph, which leads to error. The third method that is used to determine the AUC are the integrated methods. In this method, integration of the trapezoids is done with time limits. As we know that the rate of change of plasma concentration is the difference in the rate of absorption and elimination, which is described by the below mentioned equation, where Ka and Ke are absorption and elimination rate constant, Xa and Xc are the amount of the drug in the GIT and body respectively. Integrating this equation gives us the following equation, and the following equations are generated for the calculation of AUC. The second method which is used to determine the bioavailability are the urinary excretion studies. This method is based on the principle that the unchanged drug excreted in urine is directly proportional to the drug concentration of plasma. This method is used only if 20% of the dose is excreted unchanged in the urine. Measurement of the urinary drug excretion can be used to determine the bioavailability. If active ingredient is excreted unchanged in the urine, and complete samples of the urine must be collected. The various parameters which are determined when urinary excretion method is used are DU. It is the cumulative amount of drug excreted in urine and is directly proportional to the extent of systemic absorption. Urine samples are collected after administration of the drug. Assay of urine specimen is performed for free drug with a specific method. The relationship between the cumulative amount of drug excreted in the urine and the plasma drug level time curve shows that when the drug is completely eliminated, the plasma concentration approaches zero and the minimum amount of drug excreted in the urine, that is DU, is obtained. The second parameter is du by dt. It is the rate of drug excreted in the urine, which is directly related to the rate of drug absorption. Since most of the drugs are eliminated by first order kinetics, the rate of drug excretion depends on first order elimination rate constant Ke and the concentration of the drug in the plasma C. The third is the total time after drug administration for the drug to be absorbed and completely excreted after administration. Now let us understand about the various pharmacodynamic methods. In this, the first is acute pharmacological response method. This method is useful when pharmacokinetic methods are inaccurate or difficult or non-reproducible. In this method, pharmacological effect caused by the drugs such as ECG, pupil dilation, etc. are used to determine drug and time relation. Pharmacological response versus time and dose response curve is used to determine the bioavailability of a drug. The response is measured for minimum of 3 biological half-lives of a drug. The disadvantages of this method is that variable pharmacological response results in false results, and when the effect is due to an active metabolite, this is not useful. The second method is the therapeutic response method. This method is the most definite method for determining bioavailability. Clinical response of the drug is absorbed in patients treated with the drug. For example, in case of anti-inflammatory drug, the clinical response noted is a reduction in inflammation. However, a difference in the clinical response from individual to individual is noted due to difference in the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic behavior in different individuals. Some of the pharmacodynamic factors are age, drug tolerance, genetic factors, etc. Bioequivalent drugs should show same clinical response and same bioavailability. Bioequivalence study. Earlier, the pharmaceutical drug products which were considered equivalent did not show comparative results. Hence, bioequivalence came into existence. One of the incidents which occurred in 1968 in case of phenytoin was when calcium sulfate, which was used as an excipient in the formulation, was substituted with lactose, causing faster dissolution, which led to phenytoin toxicity. Bioavailability is an absolute term as it measures the true rate and extent of drug absorption, whereas bioequivalence is a relative term which determines the rate and extent of a drug in comparison with a different branded drug. There are different types of equivalence. The first is pharmaceutical equivalence. Two formulations are said to be pharmaceutical equivalent if they have identical amount of the same active ingredient, but the non-active ingredient, that is the excipients, are not the same. Chemical equivalence. When two or more formulations of a particular drug claims to have the same amount of drug as specified in pharmacopoeia and the claim is found to be true by chemical assay of the product, then these products are said to be chemically equivalent. Clinical equivalence. Two branded formulations of a particular drug are said to be clinically equivalent if they show identical in vivo pharmacological response. Therapeutic equivalence. When one drug shows a same therapeutic or a pharmacological effect in treatment of same disease as shown by the other, which is structurally different, then they are called as therapeutically equivalent products. Let us understand about the in vitro in vivo correlation. The in vitro dissolution data should be comparable with the in vivo bioavailability result for the drug. A simple in vitro dissolution test on the drug product is not sufficient to predict its therapeutic efficacy. The two major objectives of developing such a correlation are to ensure batch-to-batch consistency in the physiological performance of a drug product by use of such in vitro values, and to serve as a tool in the development of a new dosage form with desired in vivo performance. The correlation between dissolution and bioavailability can be developed by establishing a relationship between in vitro dissolution and in vivo bioavailability, modifying the dissolution methodology by using previous bioavailability study data, and arriving at meaningful in vitro in vivo correlation. The data which is used for establishing the in vitro in vivo correlation is based on plasma level data, pharmacological response, and on urinary excretion studies. Criteria for establishing a bioequivalence requirement. Bioequivalence requirements are imposed by FDA on the basis of the following: evidence from well-controlled clinical trials or controlled observation in patients that various drug products do not give comparable therapeutic effects, evidence from well-controlled bioequivalence study that such products are not bioequivalence drug products, evidence that the drug product exhibits a narrow therapeutic ratio and minimum effective concentration in the blood, and that safe and effective use of drug products require careful dose titration and drug monitoring, physiological evidence such as active drug ingredient has a low solubility in water, that is less than 5 mg per ml, and has a lower dissolution rate, that is less than 50% in 30 minutes. Pharmacokinetic evidence such as low absorption of the drug, more absorption of a drug in a particular part of the GI tract, rapid metabolism of drug, and excretion of the drug from the body, and stability of the drug in GI tract. The criteria for waiver of evidence of in vivo bioavailability is: if the drug product meets any one of the following criteria, then FDA waives off the requirement for in vivo bioavailability study of a drug. When the drug formulation is meant for intravenous administration and or the API is mixed with same solvent and in same concentration as approved NDA for intravenous route. The drug product is used as a topical preparation for local effects such as ointment, creams, lotions, etc. The drug product is to be administered orally, but it does not get absorbed and reaches the systemic circulation, that is antacids. The drug product is to be administered by inhalation, and the API is in the same dosage form as that of the drug product, that is approved NDA. The drug product is oral solution, elixir, tincture, etc., and the API is in the same dosage form as that of the drug product, that is approved NDA, and there is no inactive ingredient that affects the absorption of drug. Let us understand about the bioequivalence study. Bioequivalence study is designed in such a way that the effect of two formulations can be compared and distinguished. There are different designs for bioequivalence study. The first is a two-period crossover design. It is the most commonly used design. In this, two formulations are compared randomly and is a single dose crossover study. The order of treatment in crossover study is known as sequence, and the time of treatment is known as period. It has two periods and two sequences. The treatment period of first is followed by washout cycle so that the drug concentration of previous treatment is below the lower limit before the beginning of the second period. Generally, at least 5 elimination half-lives of the drug are taken. In this design, even number of the subjects is selected and they are randomly divided into two groups containing equal number of subjects. Group 1 is treated with formulation A and group 2 is treated with formulation B. Then after the washout period, group 1 is treated with formulation B and group 2 is treated with formulation A. The second design is the parallel group design. This design is used for those drugs which have a longer half-life, and thus the requirement of washout period is not necessary. In this study, each subject receives only one formulation and only one study period is involved. Even number of subjects are selected and divided into groups, and each group receives only one formulation. The next is the replicate design. It is used for highly variable drugs and it allows comparison of within subject variances. Number of subject needed is less in this study design. It can be a full replicate, that is four-way study. It is similar to crossover design, and the only difference is instead of 2 study periods, it has 4 study periods. It has 2 sequence and 2 formulations. The partial replicate design, it's a 3-way design. It is similar parallel group design, and the difference is that it has 3 sequence, 3 period and a single dose. The fourth is the Latin square crossover design. The volunteers are used in complete open label crossover fashion. The Latin square design is used in clinical trial to assure that each subject receives each product only once with adequate time between medication for the elimination of the drug from the body. In this method, more than 2 formulations can be studied. All the subjects are treated with different formulation at a particular time, and after washout period, formulations are changed in a sequence. Example of a Latin square crossover design for bioequivalence study is described in the following table. In Latin square crossover design, possible carryover effects from any particular drug product is minimized by changing the sequence or order in which the product are given to the subject. Pilot study. It is generally performed on small number of subjects before proceeding to full bioequivalence study so as to validate the analytical method, assess the variability, optimize sample collection time intervals and other information. The next is the pivotal study. After determining the appropriate number of subjects for the study, the pivotal study is done to demonstrate bioequivalence. The selection of the design depends on the following factors: the type of drug and its characteristics, number of formulations to be evaluated, objective of the study, inter and intra-subject variability, subject availability, time period of study, and the cost of the study. The various methods, pharmaceutical methods which have been used for the enhancement of bioavailability include formulation modifications, modifying manufacturing procedure or physiological property of a drug without altering its chemical structure and its pharmacological activity to increase the bioavailability of the drug. Now let us summarize this module. Bioavailability is defined as a measure of the rate and extent of drug absorbed which reaches the systemic circulation unchanged from its dosage form. Bioavailability usually ranges from 0 to 1. Intravenous formulations exhibit 100% bioavailability. When intravenous dose is taken as a reference standard, it is called as absolute bioavailability. When dosage form other than the intravenous route is taken as a reference standard, then it is called as the relative bioavailability. Limit of bioavailability test is 80 to 125% compared to the reference formulation. The various FDA recommended pharmacokinetic parameters for testing bioavailability of a drug are Cmax, Tmax, AUC. Various single versus multiple dose study designs are used to determine bioavailability. Bioavailability is measured by plasma level time studies and urinary excretion studies, which are pharmacokinetic methods, and by acute pharmacological response and therapeutic response, which are pharmacodynamic methods. There are 3 methods to measure AUC: the physical method, trapezoidal method, and the integrated methods. Bioequivalence is a relative term which determines the rate and extent of a drug in comparison with a different branded drug. In vitro in vivo correlation based on plasma level data, pharmacological response, urinary excretion studies, and mean residence time is established. When the drug formulation is meant for intravenous administration, shows a local effect, and doesn't get absorbed and reaches the systemic circulation, or is an approved NDA, then FDA waives off the requirement for in vivo bioavailability study. Bioequivalence study designs used are two-period crossover, parallel group design, replicate design, and Latin square crossover design. By increasing drug dissolution, drug permeability, drug stability, and increasing GI retention time, the bioavailability of poorly soluble drugs can be enhanced. Thank you.